Welcome to another episode of Patio Pondering Podcast. Today is an auspicious occasion because it is the very first Patio Pondering Podcast that is actually taking place on a patio. See, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Northeast Indiana. I'm getting a little late start on my podcast today because I had other things I had to get taken care of. But the sun is out. It's warm in the concrete. It's warm in the ground up. And I thought, what better day for me to start Patio Pondering Podcast on the patio. It's absolutely beautiful. It's nice to be surrounded by the sounds of nature, the calm, the solitude that it brings, the chance for me to reflect and think on life, and gaze across the growing grass, flowers, our backyard that happens to be full of yellow dandelions because we didn't put 2,4-D on last fall. But it's just beautiful being outside and enjoying the sights and the sound. And actually, this is where it started. Now, we're sitting here on the heels of Holy Week. And yesterday morning, we had the announcement that Pope Francis passed away. And I listened to some podcasts and some news reports yesterday. And his death struck me for another reason, for actually two reasons. One, he died the day after Easter, and there may be some sort of divine intervention that he died on after Easter. And I've got a friend of mine from a pledge brother that told me to look at the octave, the Easter octave, and the celebration post-Easter. And maybe his death was a way for us, or particularly Catholics, to look at celebrating his life in the octave. I don't know. It's outside my expertise. But the other reason that it is significant is today, or tomorrow, marks 8 months since I ended my 12-year career at Kent Nutrition Group. Now, as most of you know, that was an involuntary into my career. But I didn't expect it. And obviously I didn't ask for it. But a lot of times life doesn't give you permission to give you what you get. And you think about our mantra to our children when they're in preschool, when they get a snack they don't like. It's you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And I guess my way of not throwing a fit was to come out here on the patio and enjoy the surroundings and take some time to think, contemplate, and ponder. And that ended up being one morning of writing and pondering, and a second morning of pondering and writing, and a third morning, and a fourth morning, and a fifth morning, and pretty soon we're sitting here 8 months later with a whole lot of patio ponderings, a lot of writing, and working on the 38th episode of a podcast. Now, it's interesting that I've chosen to use this time to grow and reflect, and part of that came from a session I had with my therapist, which was 2 hours after I was sitting at the Bob Evans and unceremoniously told I was no longer an employee, where she said, you've got to do something. You've got to get out of bed every morning and do something productive. Now, on several levels, I intellectually knew that. And anybody going through some sort of loss, whether it's a job or a family member or a natural disaster or anything, you intellectually know that you have to do something. You can't sit back and wallow in your self-pity, wallow in what was or what could have been, and move forward. Now, for some of us, that's harder to do than others. And for me, I don't know, I wouldn't call it easy. I just grabbed the bulls by the horn and started patio pondering. Now, at the time, I wasn't thinking, here's the path that I'm going to take by writing every morning. It's going to do me this, and I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to do that. It was just a way for me to get out of bed and do something productive. Now, most of you know that we live on a farm, so I still had to get out of bed. We still had chores to do. We had harvest to prepare for. I had to help around the landscaping, so it's not like I was sitting here. So I'm fortunate that I had things outside of contemplating and thinking to occupy my time and capitalize on. But unbeknownst to me, on that day in August, was that I was going to take this opportunity to grow. And today I listened to a podcast by Vance Crowe, who I met on Twitter. He used to be at Monsanto. He's on his own now, doing a lot of content creation and podcast, and his legacy interviews are a tool that he's using to help people understand their past and share legacies. But he talked today about his reluctance to use artificial intelligence. It hit me that I started to use artificial intelligence more. And he was talking about how you talked to his AI platform or interface, and I don't know which form he was using, I don't remember it, by making a proposal as he drove home, as he was talking to his AI and perfected it and made this proposal that he was going to share with his wife. And that hit me as interesting because when I was working on yesterday's article, Patio Pondering article, on the death of Pope Francis and me being Catholic adjacent and my experience over the years as a Protestant with Catholic family, I found myself riffing, where I had written the bare bones and the backbone of what I wanted to talk about in multiple paragraphs and multiple words, and I threw that into ChatGPT. And as I was reading what I had written, I realized I needed to add more. So it was like a jazz musician sitting in the studio with the tape just recording, laying down tracks with no written plan other than I'm going to just play what my heart desires. And I can't remember what movie it was. I think it might have been Tom Hanks's movie where the kid sits down and he's playing on the drums and this jazz legend comes in and he stops. And the jazz legend said to him, "Well, why'd you stop?" He said, "Well, I wasn't doing anything as good as you." And they said, but the jazz legend said, "Just keep doing, man." So he started riffing on the drums and playing it out, and he said, I think he called it Ice Spartacus or whatever. And I was doing that yesterday, interacting with my ChatGPT. I call him Merlin. So every morning I talk to Merlin, but yesterday I was talking to Merlin, and I was riffing. And maybe that's part of a writer's process where you just throw stuff down. But AI has helped me be a better writer riffer. And that piece that I dropped yesterday that I think is really good is better because I interacted with ChatGPT as my editor at my fingertips instead of my editor in the office across the way or my editor in New York, where I could instantaneously and almost seamlessly get feedback and improve what I was writing. So that is something that I didn't expect at all. The other one, obviously, is this interaction with you. Podcasting was one of those elusive tasks that special people did. That people that knew how to do things, that had access to equipment, or had people that showed them what to do. Now, looking back after doing this for several months and learning, anybody can podcast. It's pretty cool that I'm doing this now. And I'm not bragging. I am not bragging. It is neat that a simple person, not a technophile, can figure out how to use the Scarlett 2i2 audio interface and the Audio-Technica BPHS1 headset and throw that into Reaper and use Riverside and publish things. Now I'm a novice at this. I'm in awe at the people that can integrate video and all those things. But had I not lost my job 8 months ago, or 8 months minus a day, I know I wouldn't be where I am today as a podcaster and a communicator. This is a rambling podcast, solo. I'm just riffing here. without ChatGPT. But that communication skill of learning how to utilize AI, utilize a podcast to convey a message was a skill I didn't have 8 months ago. So it's taking a challenge that you've been given, a life-changing challenge, and improving yourself. I encourage everybody to get out of bed and do something productive when they've been hit with a challenge. The other neat thing about today's podcast is I submitted one of my patio ponderings. It happened to be one of them on land use to our local newspaper, and I found out today it was published. So I have my first byline. Now it's in the East Allen County Courier, or East Allen Courier that goes to, it's a free advertiser with news in it that goes to our area. If you have a Woodburn, Harlan, Graybill, Leo, Spencerville zip code, you get it in your mailbox on a Tuesday. But I'm in it, so that's kind of cool. I know my mother, that she's been gone for over 5 years now, she'd be patting me on the back. So as we wrap up this short rambling of a patio pondering, I would just want to leave you with a message that when I started this, in response to a job loss, I didn't have a master plan. I didn't start typing at the computer at the patio on August 26th with an idea that I'd end up with so many impressions and so many followers and so many articles and actually end up with something that would be publishable in a newspaper. And I didn't launch the podcast because I had everything figured out and that I knew that it was the next step and that it would fit in with my patio pondering and here's the media behemoth I wanted to produce. No, I didn't. I just needed a place to think. I needed a place to wrestle with my thoughts. And I also needed a place to have some hope. A place where I could share my thoughts that were hopefully inspiring for others. But the bottom line, it was inspiring to me. It got me out of bed. It gave me some purpose. And the other thing is, it gave me a platform to share things that I was not allowed to share because of my different positions. You see, my writing, my podcasting, my interactions with people on social media, my use of artificial intelligence has helped me get out of that silo that I've been placed in because I was just the swine nutritionist. So if somebody looks at my portfolio of work over the last 8 months and compare that with my 25-year resume, I sure hope they say, man, this guy made a really, really nice batch of lemonade out of a bunch of lemons he was given. And that's pretty appropriate because it's getting almost warm enough here on the patio on this beautiful spring afternoon that I might just need to make some lemonade. And sometimes making lemonade out of lemons is just enough. And as a way to wrap up, sometimes it's the small beginnings, the quiet moments of solitude that eventually lead to a new path. So if you're sitting in your own season of uncertainty in this week after Holy Week, and you're starting with a blank page or a broken plan, take heart from my journey that started with just a few words sitting here in the patio. Know that that path ahead of you is not forged yet. And though you won't see the road ahead, it's got many curves, it's got many corners, it's got bends that you can't see. You just might need a patio. A quiet patio where you can ponder. You might not have the patio, but find a quiet place and open your heart to the willingness to start on something new. Thanks for sitting with me here on the patio on this beautiful April day. The birds, the breeze, the silence, the helicopter flying over right now provide the background and the palette that I needed to make lemonade out of those lemons I was given. So until next time, keep pondering. We've got some guests lined up for the podcast. I'm going to talk to a longtime friend, Tracy Snyder. We met many, many years ago when she worked for the National Corn Growers Association and I was the expert on the use of distillers' grains. And we talked at different symposia. She's going to be a guest this week. I'm still trying to find a guest to talk about land use in DeKalb County. I've got an invitation out for that. And we're going to find some farmers to give us some updates on where they are with planning for the plant 2025. So thank you for following along as we drive into people's agricultural route and hit timely ag topics.